Mo Salah has limped out in a game between Egypt and Ghana at AFCON, and I think it's going to draw a lot of people's opinions on mid-season tournaments. As always, online there's always some hot takes. Let's just preempt some of this by saying Liverpool expected to be without Mo Salah for a little while anyway, so at the very beginning or early stages of a tournament, always expect players to do more precautionary things than not precautionary things. A, he's trying to preserve the rest of his season. B, he's still very early on in the competition and probably has some faith in the way that his team is setting up now. Probably even more faith than he did just a couple of years ago, even though they got very close to, doing very special, well, not really special, but like actually going to something significant in terms of the World Cup. And then at the same time, we maybe should be a little bit worried because Mo Salah rarely gets injured, and part of that might be because of the way that Liverpool's medical staff have managed him over the last few years. In fact, people have always worried about Mo Salah getting injured when he's not at Liverpool. Not that Egypt don't have good medical staff, but if you break someone's cycle midway through a season, if you're taking them out of what is, for them, a more normal weekly routine, then you're much more likely to have some sort of issues. Of course, there might be also some people that say, hey, the complete opposite is also true, and you have, if a change is as good as a rest kind of approach, then also that might work. At the same time, Mo might not even be all that significantly injured in the first place. But just say that he is. What do Liverpool do for the rest of the season? Do Liverpool put Szoboszlai out there? Do they put Harvey Elliott out there? Is Luis Diaz suddenly Liverpool's preferred right-wing option? Especially definitely after considered performance against Arsenal, where he scored late on from that position, on that side. Granted, on a counter-attack, which is where he might have ended up anyway, although Mo Salah probably would have taken up that position, but you still get the point. Or are we looking at Cody Gakpo out on that wing? Are we looking at Darwin Núñez down the middle? All I'm saying is, when everyone's making all these big headlines up around this kind of thing, there are often a lot of other solutions that Liverpool might be able to find. And in fact, buying someone like Cody Gakpo, buying someone like Luis Diaz, having options such as Harvey Elliott, Szoboszlai, who's a very adaptable player in the first place, even though we love him in that midfield position, is partly what Jurgen Klopp has been crafting this side to do, and indeed Pep Lingers. In recent years, we have seen Liverpool become, or at least attempt to become, and now are trying to see the fruition of becoming, a much more adaptable team. And earlier on in the season, obviously, I was looking in a video at the reasons why Liverpool might sell Mo Salah at this point. One of which being, if they believe that the system is bigger than any one of the players, and they believe they can get in technically brilliant players who can still technically do a lot of what Mo Salah can do, then what? Well, it doesn't mean that Mo Salah is not still a fantastic player. It doesn't mean he doesn't have this great legacy behind him. It doesn't mean that he doesn't do things really, really well. In fact, his finishing still is exceptional. His goal and assist rate is still exceptional. In fact, it's kind of on the top 1% of the 1% in the world right now. He really is next level Mo. And he has recrafted his game. He's gone inside a lot more, but he's also very effective out in the wing. He's got great partnerships with Trent and whoever's on that inside central midfielder position. He's also got great relationships with other people like Darwin Núñez. He's really good at putting his arm around people in the squad. He's a really good presence within the squad anyway. He's now a natural leader out on the field, which seems a lot more evident than even just last season, when Liverpool had someone like Jordan Henderson, who therefore dominated that side and maybe just took some of the limelight, leadership-wise, away from someone like Mo Salah. I'm just saying, narratives change here, and it seems a little bit more like the narrative than it does the reality. But bang, back to reality. Mo Salah limps out of a game. The initial reaction, of course, mostly, by the way, is for engagement on Twitter. In case you didn't know, you're getting paid for a lot of this engagement. I'm making this video because it is a significant Liverpool headline, and obviously I want to make a Liverpool channel. Of course, there is an economy here somewhere, but at the same time, let's have an honest conversation around Mo. A headline or a clickbait piece might drag you in, but it's very different to a tweet. At the same time, do I even need to justify it? Yeah, I probably do, actually. You probably should justify making money off using someone else's name and face in a video and profiting from it, essentially profiting from their misery and their injuries. Now, we then go back to Jurgen Klopp's quotes. Yeah, they were quotes, but like he kind of knew what he was saying, and in the sense that it was like, yeah, I'll give you something here. But he basically said, they said to him, come on, Jurgen, when someone goes away to AFCON, what do you say to them? He says, come back as soon as possible, which obviously is tongue in cheek, enjoy it, and don't get injured. Why? Well, you can't be assessed at AFCON in the same way as you could be assessed at Liverpool. Not because anyone doesn't have any resources that they might need or any of those things. It's because Liverpool is one of the best medical clubs in the world, in the same way as anyone else who's in one of the top leagues in the world can afford those resources. They're ahead of any international team that's out there at the moment. And I get it, international teams are on a very high level, but they don't know so much about a lot of these players' records. And in fact, they don't have a lot of that shared from the club, though they will have some of it shared, because no one wants a secret to get out. No one wants to get the science behind it out and beyond anywhere else. So while you're busy worrying about Mo Salah or whatever it is for Egypt, Jurgen is actually still worrying about him for Liverpool. And that's kind of the point here. Back at it, Liverpool are going to be without Mo Salah for a couple of games anyway. He limps out with a hamstring injury. Of course, there are going to be some ramifications and some repercussions of that. Liverpool are going to need to assess him even when he comes back anyway, but they needed to do that. He was always going to pick up knocks in a tournament because he will do that. That is what players do when they go away. And guess what? If you want your players to be happy, you need to support their life outside of the club or in addition to the club, as well as everything else that goes on within that. I totally get it. At the same time, am I frustrated? Yeah. Would I make jokes about it? I've seen a few people making jokes about it. Would I personally make jokes about someone's injury? Probably not. Would I make jokes about my own frustration around it? Yeah. Does Mo probably want a Premier League before he finally leaves the club? Possibly. Possibly. Oh, am I ready to discuss Mo Salah leaving Liverpool? Probably not. Anyway, the point being, Mo Salah is potentially injured. Can Liverpool make it through the rest of the season? Well, yeah, in bit part, yes. If Liverpool continue, and here's the thing, what a lot of people seem to think about is they just think about this moment here right now, right? This bit of the season where they go, well, Mo's injured, this guy's injured, that guy's injured. There's much more likely to be injuries towards the end of the season. There's fatigue, there's all those kind of things, there's rotation, there's everything. Klopp has only used 23 players in the league, which obviously is quite an expansive part of the squad, but at the same time, Liverpool still do have quite a, not thin, but small, knitted together team that they're still trying to expand. Bear in mind, Liverpool sold or have had a lot of injuries in certain departments, and Mo has played a lot of football over recent years. In fact, he's been one of Liverpool's most consistent starters. So with that level of consistency also comes a level of risk, fatigue, everything else. If you just go on and on and on and on and on, even if you miss a World Cup, even if you miss a couple of weeks here and a couple of weeks there, you give them a rest here, you give them a rest there, which by the way, Liverpool are having a rest this week anyway, then what happens next? I mean, you know, you can answer that one yourselves. It's a rhetorical question, but you get my point, right? Like, there is something frustrating when it's not managed at Liverpool and it's not something that we feel like we can manage. He's a million miles away. There's the potential for all of these rumours, not literally a million miles, but you get my point. He's a million miles away from where we would want him to be assessed right now. There are all these rumours about injuries. There are all these rumours about a hamstring. Of course, we need Mo Salah and Mo Salah's pace at different points in the season. We can't just have Mo Salah back without Mo Salah's pace, even though some people, including myself, have observed that there has been some drop in the need for that pace because, of course, the counter-attack is fantastic, but Mo is also a different kind of inside player now, and there are other players doing some of that running or doing different kinds of movement, which means he doesn't need to be running in the same way, doesn't need to have that same maximum, should we say, speed rather than agility. And even then, agility does still rely on your hamstrings, because guess what? Your hamstrings are in your legs. The point is, yes, it is frustrating. Do we know the full extent of it? No. Is it worth clickbaiting? Yes. But let's not just get into speculation around a player. Could Liverpool make it through the rest of the season without Salah, a talismanic brilliant player? We might find out this weekend. We've already seen Liverpool go through a couple of games, the Arsenal game, the Fulham game, where it was like, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, there is something here. He scored against Newcastle twice. So it's not as if he didn't matter before he left. He's made such a significant contribution, and guess what? His gravity is very different to someone like Harvey Elliott, very different to a Szoboszlai, very different to someone else. Players still have to go to those players, but they're not as wary of other players as they are Mo Salah, one of the top scorers in the Premier League, one of the top scorers in Liverpool history in terms of rate and all those kind of things, and also just one of the best players on the planet right now, which is what justifies his cost, which is what justifies everything else. Serious question though. How far can Liverpool make it without Mo Salah? Can they make it with these bit part, stopgap, whatever players? without someone else coming in January. Obviously, if Mo Salah was actually to leave the club, Liverpool would replace him with another out-and-out player in roughly that position, or bring in another player to supplement the other players around them, right? There would just be a body for body, if you like. It doesn't have to be the exact same player, but it would be body for body. How far can Liverpool make it without Mo Salah? Well, we're about to find out this weekend, but at the same time, in the long term being now to the end of the season, which is long term for this season, how far can Liverpool make it? Let me know in the comments below. I've got a Discord. I'm setting up this week a Just Giving page, because guess what? This hair that I was just playing with, that bit there, all getting cut off for charity. And I think we're going to try and donate the hair to someone that makes wigs for people who are suffering with hair loss due to certain medical conditions. So if you would love to go and support that, then let me know. There is also a Patreon, but it feels a little disingenuous to say Patreon immediately after charity. Having said that, can't make the content without financial support in some sense. Not necessarily from you, but in general. Feel free to join the Patreon for free, awesome membership. If you're a Liverpool fan or not, at the same time, there's also a Discord. Hop on the Discord. That also is available through the Patreon, and also available for free, I think. There's like general rooms and then Patreon rooms. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on there. Thanks a lot for joining the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, hit it there. We are growing on our way to 10K, which feels kind of weird when you've got an 85K channel. But you get my point. Mo Salah, injured. Much love, guys. See you in a little while. Bye.